The fine line. The fine line is something that is constantly on the minds, in the background of all great athletes, without exception, through all sports, through all age levels, both genders. Everybody good always has this going in the back of their head. So what is the fine line? The fine line is the route that you have to find between too much caution and too much risk in your game. So, to be clear, you could, as a hitter in volleyball, you could tip every ball, very cautious. You're never going to miss if you just set every ball over. So, great. You're awesome. You've never made a mistake. Clearly, you're a great hitter. Well, no, we all know that's not true, because if all you did was set the ball over in the middle of the court, ensuring that you never missed, you would also never get a kill and be good. So, okay, so the answer must be to crush the ball every time as hard as you can, no matter what, just kaboom, and that would be too much risk. Because we all know that if we swing as hard as we can at every ball ever, we're going to hit some in the net and some out of bounds and some get blocked. And even if we did just crush every ball as hard as we could, I mean, if we hit in the middle of the court all the time, that's where the blockers and the diggers are. So if we took super risk, super big kabooms on lines and super extreme cross, you're just going to miss. You can't do all one or the other. You're stuck riding the fine line. And that's the thing. Is it in the middle? Is it a little bit closer to caution? Is it a little bit closer to risk? You don't know. You don't know. What we do know is that we all have a tendency in this equation. We all have something we like more than the other. Some of us are a little more cautious. Some of us are a little more risky. Now, it doesn't matter which one you are, because neither one's right. You're going to have to deal away from what you like a lot. You're going to have to, if you're cautious, take more risk than you might be comfortable with. If you don't care about risk, your coach is going to yell at you for making so many mistakes. You're going to have to learn some caution. And I'm not saying that you're always wrong, because you're not. There are definitely times it pays off to take more risk, and there are definitely times it pays off to be more cautious. But I'm telling you, the right answer changes constantly in competition. So that's why I say this is always on the mind of every great competitor. They're always saying, do I need to aim for a little bit more precise, hit in order to get this kill and beat this team? Or can I get away with an easier hit because they're not necessarily that good? What is it I have to do? Do I have to take more risk, or do I have to back off in order to increase my chances for winning? And here's the other confusing thing about all this. There's more than one right answer. I mean, for one athlete, the answer might be take more risk. And for another athlete, it might be more cautious in the exact same situation. Some people may just really need to crush the ball super hard because they're stronger than you. And the right answer for you against that same team is to be more cautious and tip more balls, because while the really big, huge, booming hit works for your friend who's taller and stronger, the tip also works because they're really big and slow. So you tip over their large block and their large people don't quite get to the tip in time. You can both be right. His is very risky, yours is very cautious, and you're both contributing to the winning process for your team. So it's not like this fine line you're searching for has an exact right answer. The fine line, I want to call it like a tightrope that you have to walk between too much risk and too much caution. But then that gives people the illusion that this is a straight line. And it is not a straight line. In the middle of competition, you must change sometimes from cautious to risk, and back again and back again. This is the kind of thing that coaches were created for. Coaches, don't necessarily have all the right answers all the time. Goodness gracious, they're human just like you are. But they have been there before, and they can say, okay guys, what we've been doing isn't working. We're going to need to do this, whether more risk or less. I remember there was a time I was coaching an excellent team, and I was watching the tournament, waiting for my team to play. And watching the tournament, I had misjudged the level of offense of the kids that we were playing against. And so I pulled my team together, put them against a wall, and I said, we're totally changing one of our sets. Let's go. And the setters set the new way, and the hitters approached in a new way, and we went out and we used it, even though that was very risky. But it was an appropriate risk because we were definitely going to lose without changing our level. So without changing our level of risk, it didn't matter if we won or lost taking that risk because we were going to lose without taking that risk. Does that make sense? We could have done what we were good at. That would have been cautious. And looking at it, being an expert, I said that won't be good enough. We'll only beat the lesser teams when we're here to win the tournament. So it really matters that you're constantly taking stock of what will I have to do, how risky will I have to be, how cautious could I afford to be to get this taken care of. Here's the thing though, I need you to be prepared. Be prepared. The higher your level of play, so the higher level of play you're in, the league you're in, the level you're in, the higher your level of play, the more risk you must take in order to succeed. So things that used to work in the old days, as people get better around you, cease to work, and you need to do bigger, better, riskier things. But take heart. As your skill increases, old risks become more comfortable. So, as the level of play that you're involved in rises, your risk must also rise. However, things that used to be risky become more comfortable because you're better. So as people get better around you, more risk, but risk isn't as risky for you because you're better. So what this is this is always going to be a test for you of your skills. It's going to be a test for you and your ability to risk the right amount as you play. It is always going to be an experiment. You are going to have to figure out through trial and error how risky or how cautious to be. You are going to be tested constantly. The way to pass this test is to experiment, and keep in mind, my friends, it is always going to be a race. It is always going to be a race between your opponent getting better and making you take too much risk and failing or just beating you because you aren't willing to take that risk, and you acquiring skill so that the things that you're comfortable at doing and consistent at doing are good enough to beat that same opponent. This subject, this concept, was probably best typified, conceptualized by the great John Wooden with his quote, "Move fast, but don't hurry." In other words, you can't move slow or you'll get beat. That would be too cautious. But if you're out of control in the way you move, you're going to be an idiot, and I'm glad you're willing to take those risks, but we're going to lose because you're an idiot right now, because you're moving so fast you're out of control. So if this helps, move fast but don't hurry. Makes a lot of sense. If that helps, that's basically what all this is. This is huge. This mandates that you can never stay stagnant. You can never be comfortable with where you're at because you will constantly be tested and pushed. I encourage you to keep the fine line in the back of your head or the front at all times. If what you're doing is not working, then you are going to have to either take more risk, even if you're not quite ready for it, or you're going to have to plan that risk into your practices and into your reps so that you become good enough at it the very next time you meet this opponent, who apparently is better than you are right now. Because I want you to win more often than you lose, and to do that, you're going to have to ride the fine line between too much and not enough risk.